Some interesting news coming from the UK today. Basically, they have decided which SMR that they want to build, and they've also decided on a site where they want to build these units. Now, let's find out what we can learn. So the first news item that I found was pretty interesting. It's the US disappointed that Rolls-Royce will build UK's first small modular reactors. Now, the interesting thing here about this story is that Great British Nuclear, which is basically the government, the United Kingdom government, I should say the Great Britain government, the English government. Let's call it the English government. That they have basically, they were assessing a couple of designs, and I believe initially it were 6. Then it got down selected to 4. Then it got down selected to 3. I believe that the final 3 were Rolls-Royce, Holtec, and GE Hitachi. So all 3 have SMRs on offer, small modular reactors. And in the end, it's basically Rolls-Royce that got selected. I mean, it's not a big surprise to me. To some people, it is a big surprise. But what is interesting about this particular news item is that the United States was basically bidding to build AP1000s at Wylfa, and that the United Kingdom was actually considering building those AP1000s. So if you build 2 AP1000s, that gives you like roughly 2.2 gigawatts, right? And the choice that the UK has made is that they want to build 3 of these units. So 3 UKSMR by Rolls-Royce. Now, the interesting bit about the UKSMR is that it's not really an SMR anymore. SMRs, they go up to 300 megawatts. At least that's what everybody says that they do. But at some point, basically what happened was that companies were stretching, how far an SMR would reach in terms of power production, right? So the Rolls-Royce, the UK SMR, I believe that one produces 470 megawatts, in which case, purely from a definition standpoint, it's no longer a small modular reactor. But, we're splitting hairs at this moment. What I think is one of the most misunderstood things about these small modular reactors is that in most cases they aren't small. So what do I mean by that? If you build a reactor, what you need a couple of things in order for it to be able to operate, in order for it to generate power. In this case, this is a small modular reactor that basically has all the fixins, right? And with all the fixins, what I mean is there is infrastructure included to handle fuel, which means that you need a spent nuclear fuel pool and a fuel pool. It's not necessarily a spent nuclear fuel pool; it's a fuel pool where you can stage things, right? You can put your fuel assemblies there, have them available for when you start loading new fuel into the reactor, but you can also take old fuel assemblies out and basically store them in this fuel pool. Now, if you have a fuel pool, what you also need is you need a way to move these nuclear fuel assemblies from the pool to the reactor. So what you need is a crane. Obviously, you need a quite substantial crane, which has to be strong enough to lift all this stuff up and down. You also need sluices, right? The doors that close that basically create a contained area that fills up with water through which you can move these fuel assemblies. And on top of the reactor, which you also need, because this is something that is very interesting. During operation, usually the space above a nuclear reactor is empty. It's just air. But when you want to do stuff in this nuclear reactor, you need to take the reactor vessel hat off. You can't just take the reactor pressure vessel, you can't just take the pressure hat off and park it somewhere and start, messing around in the reactor. So what you do is you add this huge column of water. Now, this huge column of water is there to help move this stuff around, these fuel assemblies, for instance, and to make sure that you can rearrange your fuel assemblies which are down in the reactor. But it's also there to basically shield the workers who are standing on top of these bridges, gantries. I believe that it's called a bridge, and they have to manipulate all this stuff. So that's all part of the infrastructure. Additionally, what you generally do when you build your containment building is you need to have a very heavy crane in the top. And that very heavy crane in the top is used to hoist the reactor pressure vessel into place when it's done. But it's also used to move stuff around inside this, not inside the water area where you move your spent nuclear fuel and your new fuel. But on top of that, you have large space and you have large equipment that you need to move around. That's what that crane is used for too. Now, all of this stuff is pretty expensive. And ideally, what you want to have is a lot of power output. Because if you have a lot of power output, you basically can offset the cost of this expensive material, this expensive equipment, much faster than when you have a small energy output. And that's why people say economies of scale, right? You want to have the output of your reactor to be as big as possible in order to make sure that the investment in all the extra stuff that you need to make the reactor work, that it basically is worth it and that you can sell electricity at a reasonable price. So I suspect that Rolls-Royce has basically lifted the capacity, the power output of this reactor up to, I believe that they began somewhere around 390 megawatts, and then they moved up to 420, 450, now it's 470. And I believe that they did this in order to make sure that the business case would still hold after they have put all this expensive equipment in order to make this reactor. Now, the United States says that it would have been much smarter to build two AP1000s at the Wylfa site because they are cheaper and they deliver more power, and it's simply a better option. Now, personally, I'm on the fence what is best. First of all, we need to give these things a chance in order to figure out where the economics land. Right now, we can model the economics of these plants, and we can assume that the economics of these plants will be competitive. Now, what do I mean with competitive? Competitive with the other alternatives, not nuclear alternatives, but with the alternatives of coal, gas, or a system that is built up of wind and solar and batteries and hydrogen and all that stuff. I believe that the SMR, even if it is not the most optimally priced product compared to a larger reactor like an AP1000 or an APR 1400 or an EPR, but I believe that the smaller modular reactor still is a compelling product if you want to do something that is more efficient than all the rest, non-nuclear stuff. So that's why I'm on the fence, and that's why I keep defending the SMR as a good alternative to everything else not being nuclear. It's that simple. That's why I am pro SMR. I'm also pro big, by the way. I don't make, to me, these choices are being made by people who make, they have to deliberate about what's best for that place, but also what's best for the national economy, regional economies, local economy. There's all sorts of reasons that people decide whether they want to build a large reactor or a small reactor. Now, in this case, they decided to go with the small reactor. So the interesting bit, this is a very interesting news article. I suggest that you read it. The other news article, this is basically where they announced that Rolls-Royce was the winning bidder for UK small nuclear reactors. We'll make sure that these links are down in the description below. By the way, if you want to support me making these videos, what you should do, really should do right now, is press the free like and press the free subscribe button. I mean, those things are free. And also, if you want to support me financially, you can find it in the description down below how you can do that. Make sure that I can buy some presents for my children, do some car maintenance, and make sure that my Christmas is great as well. Now let's continue. There's more stuff here that I want to share with you, right? So over here, North Wales to pioneer UK's first small modular reactor. I will leave a link to the description down below. Then here is a written statement. Wylfa announced as the site for the UK's first small modular reactor. This is also interesting. They say for UK's first small modular reactor, and then they say nuclear power station. Wow, that's a long term. And North Wales is confirmed as a location for an artificial intelligence growth zone. Now the question is this indigenously developed AI? If it is, then great. If it is meant to be a place where Sam Altman can build his AI, then I would say good, but it would probably not be the smartest move to brush the AP1000 aside and say, oh yes, we want to build our own UKSMRs, but we do want to have American AI data centers over here. So that's just, something that you can think about. I mean, obviously, if you look at what they are doing currently, so I believe that Sam Altman is from ChatGPT, right? They are currently building this Stargate campus somewhere in Texas. It's huge. It's absolutely immense. And they are powering this campus with natural gas plants. I just mapped it out on a map, which I will share in a later video, where you can see, you can clearly see that they're building like, I believe it's like 10 natural gas plants, which takes up a pretty sizable chunk of this Stargate campus. So that's just an idea. I mean, if you want to have this if you want to partake in the artificial intelligence game, then you should weigh other stuff that you do that is tangentially, related to AI carefully, because first it's entirely possible that the United States says, well, yes, you can have AI, but you will only get AI if we get to build our AP1000s at that location. But that's just something that that I play out inside my own head. For all intents and purposes, this may land entirely differently. For all intents and purposes, one US AI company simply sets up a diplomatic link with the UK and says, okay, I want to do this in the UK, and then diplomatically all of it works fine, and they will get their AI campus in North Wales. Now, this is interesting. I mean, this over here, this is the website from Rolls-Royce, the small modular reactor. I will leave a link to this website for your benefit down in the description below, so that you can see, what this exactly entails. Now, it's pretty interesting. They intend to build their nuclear reactor inside of basically a construction hall, a construction tent. And this is one of those, I mean, the video isn't really good that's on here. It doesn't really show the process of erecting this thing, but the first frame that you see, that's exactly what you get. They're simply building a manufacturing hall where they can start constructing the nuclear power plant inside. They build a giant, I believe that they build a giant seismic bearing with a concrete slab on top, and the entire power plant is built on top of this seismically decoupled concrete slab. Really interesting idea. Now, whether it is going to be the best or whether it is going to be a sales cannon, who knows? Who knows? I'm here to watch it all play out and see whether they can actually deliver what they're promising. So I mean, there's loads of people who are saying, don't bother with it. Start building those AP1000s. And I'm like, listen, the UK, they have expertise themselves. Rolls-Royce has expertise. They used to build nuclear reactors for submarines, for instance. They're also experienced in building turbine equipment. So let them do this. Let them see. Let's see whether they can deliver these at reasonable cost in time, and whether their promise is actually achievable or not. Now, the chart that I made, this is an old chart already. I'm changing it up a little bit, but the interesting thing is over here. So Wylfa. So if you have Liverpool in the UK, once you get over to here to Wrexham, you basically go into Wales, and then over here in the top, this is where Wylfa is located. Now, it's pretty interesting because it isn't really apparent from the start, but this is actually an island. So over here you can see there's this estuary over here, and then I mean this is basically a delta or something. It's not really a river, right? Would you call this a river? Well, maybe it is a river, but in any case, there's this huge chunk of water running in between. So this is an island, and then over here you have Wylfa. I believe that Wylfa means wolf in Welsh. If somebody from Wales can confirm, I would really like to know whether this is correct or not. But in any case, what you see over here, this is the old Magnox reactor that used to be there. It's a pretty old one. I mean, this is the Magnox reactor. This is one of the first types that they built. And these things are gas-cooled. And after these ones, they built more gas-cooled reactors, which they called, I believe, was it the GCR, the gas-cooled reactor? The interesting bit about gas-cooled reactors is that they are incredibly large, right? So you have these blocks of graphite in there with channels in which you have solid nuclear fuel. And the interesting bit is that these reactors are actually cooled using CO2 so the CO2 as a gas runs through these huge graphite contraptions, and that's basically the primary coolant that is used to run these reactors. So these reactors are huge. I can't find it anymore, but there used to be a comparison map where you could see the size comparison between, for instance, a light water reactor and a gas cooled reactor, and then you see a light water reactor, that's 1,000 megawatts, and it's this big, and then right next to it you see like a huge black block. And that's like a gas-cooled reactor with a capacity of 600 megawatts. So these things are, the plant itself doesn't look that large, but the power density of these reactors isn't as great as you would think. So this here is the old Wylfa A power station. Interesting bit over here is that they have canopies over their switch and transformer yards. Very interesting. This is one of the things I've only seen them in the UK, as far as I know. Maybe somewhere else they use canopies to cover their switch and transformer yards. If so, let me know. But as far as I can tell, the UK is the only place where they do this. Now, the interesting thing is that they're going to build 3 UKSMRs over here. So that's 1,500 megawatts. Roughly 1,500 megawatts. If they would have built 2 AP1000s, that would have been 2,200 megawatts. Now, what's also interesting is that there's about 3,000 jobs involved with this project. So that's great. Now, I don't believe that it's going to be 3,000 jobs when the reactors are operational, because these UKSMRs probably will require somewhere between 200 and 400 people per unit in order to run it, basically. But the 3,000 jobs in total is probably including construction jobs, which are temporary jobs. Let's hope that they can build these things in like 3 or 4 years. That means that let's say that you stagger them, that at least for 8 or 9 years, you will have 3,000 well-paying construction jobs at this site. And when that is done, you're left with like 1,200 jobs for, people who do the operations at these plants. So it's a pretty interesting site. As you see, there's loads and loads of space over here. So it's understandable that, they're looking for to do an AI campus somewhere around this place. But what I do think about, or what I was wondering was, if they do this AI campus and if they do these 3 UKSMRs, I mean, where are all the people going to live? I mean, this is a village, and over here, this is a village. These are not towns; these are villages. So this would mean that in this area, there will be a lot of employment that is going on in this region over here. So maybe people are going to live over here in Holyhead, or I don't know, maybe people are going to live over here in Bangor. That's an interesting name, Langefn. I don't know. If anybody knows how to pronounce this, I would love to hear it. In any case, it is going to be a boon for this region altogether to get 3 UKSMRs, bringing there at least 1,000, maybe 1,500 jobs that are there to stay for at least 6 years. And then also getting an AI campus over here, which is going to bring another, I don't know, maybe, who knows, hundreds of jobs, maybe thousands of jobs. In any case, I mean, this is a very interesting development. Let's zoom out. As you can see, I've put a lot of information on this map. You can find all the nuclear power stations that are existing today. You can find the nuclear power stations that are being decommissioned. You can also see over here, the orange ones. Those are active fossil fuel or biomass fueled power plants. The black ones, those are basically decommissioned power plants. The yellow zones, those are basically the large city agglomerations in the UK. Pretty interesting stuff. I will make sure that this map is available to you in the description down below. And with that, you've reached the end of this video. If you're still here, you're an absolute champion. If you want to support the channel, make sure that you are subscribed, that you leave a like on the video, and that you leave a comment down below. I'm really interested to learn what you have to say about this subject. And if you want to support me, please make sure that you become a member on Patreon, or you can do a single donation using PayPal. In any case, thank you all for watching. May the strong force be with you. Bye-bye.
Wow.